Hi, I'm Jennifer Harrington from Menopause Natural Solutions, and today I'm chatting with Dr. Vicky Stewart from Dizzy Resolve. Hello, Vicky.
Hi, thanks for having me, Jen.
You're very welcome. And I'm excited to talk to you because dizziness is such a, let's say it's a common, but it's not a normal symptom that women transitioning through to menopause experience. So I'm hoping you can share your wisdom with us today. How how did you even get started in this world of dizziness?
Yeah, so I've been a vestibular physiotherapist for oh gosh, like 16 years or something like that. And right back at the beginning, when I was doing my training, I loved vestibular physiotherapy. So that's helping people with dizziness and vertigo. So I got into it very early in my career. And even though I did neurology and worked in hospital settings, and I did my PhD in vestibular physiotherapy, after lots of years, I then realized, gee, we're not helping people with chronic dizziness to the full extent that I feel like they could be helped. And it wasn't then until I stepped out of vestibular physiotherapy hat on and I put on a integrative mind body approach that I got to, like you, with your own personal experience. For me, it was with my son. So my son had a health issue, and the medical system sort of said, okay, just watch and wait, watch and wait, keep him in a wheelchair for a couple of years, and then it'll be fine. And I thought, no, 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 there has to be something else. So then I dived deep into all the other things that were possible. And I was like, oh gosh, this is another whole world that I haven't been thinking about for my chronic dizziness people. And that's how Dizzy Resolve was born. So now in Dizzy Resolve, I really look at people with a very holistic, that integrative approach. Um, People with chronic dizziness usually come to me after they've already tried the medical approaches, looking at vestibular physiotherapy included. Yeah, so that's how I sort of got into it in a very quick nutshell explanation. And with migraines and menopause often go hand in hand. So I know that's how we've sort of crossed over as well.
Unfortunately, that is true. Yes. So with dizziness, what have you found are some of the most common causes of chronic unresolving dizziness?
Yeah, well, with chronic dizziness, probably the most common ones are vestibular migraine and triple PD. Triple PD is persistent postural perceptual dizziness, and some people can have both. But when we look at the layer deeper than those diagnostic labels, because those labels really help medical practitioners and they help us do research. And they do help people have a name for what they have so that they can, go forward with their testing. But when we actually look at it at a deeper level, there's often nervous system issues that have developed maybe over a long time that has led them to be more exposed to migraines becoming a bigger effect on their body and life. So triple PD is something that develops sometimes with a non-medical cause, but often it is a medical cause, and it develops over 3 months, where they then have symptoms more days than not of symptoms like unsteadiness or dizziness, either internally or externally, and visual sensitivity issues as well. But why those things develop is often that their nervous system's dysregulated, or it contributes to their symptoms persisting. So maybe their nervous system was fine, but then the whole process of being investigated for trying to find a cause for their dizziness, and that sort of has escalated that nervous system not being in a more regulated pattern. So there's definitely nervous system involvement. But even deeper than that, again, there's also subconscious reprogramming happening as well. So our subconscious remembers so much when we have an unexpected or unpleasant event happen, which can be vertigo or dizziness event itself, or it can be something less related to that, more personal. And the subconscious remembers that, but it can sort of get intertwined with symptoms and then escalate symptoms in seemingly unrelated exposure to that similar event later on. Yeah.
So with that nervous system dysregulation that you're speaking to,
Yeah.
how do you help resolve that?
Yeah, so I think education's important. So instead of just throwing, here's some tools for someone to do, they need to understand like how their nervous system works. What is a normally functioning nervous system? And more importantly, how they're in any moment, what their nervous system's doing. So what nervous system state are they in? So they need to know for them what their signs are that let them know, oh, I'm in a sympathetic state or I'm in a parasympathetic nervous system state. And this might mean that what's going on around me or how I'm interpreting what's going on around me is affecting my nervous system. And so I deal with it from that point of view. And then obviously with the actual strategies of what to do about it. So when I think about nervous system regulation tools, I think about ones to use in the moment, like you're having a red light moment and you're needing something to do right in that moment. And then strategies that you can do as preventative to help the nervous system be able to tolerate life's doing life on you, life throwing curveballs. Um, so ones that are more preventative rather than in the moment.
I can see that they would definitely need both. You want to
Yes.
prevent it from happening, but you also need the tools so that while it is happening, you can actually step back and
Yeah, and I really promote people to like it's like going to a clothes store and trying on different clothes, right? Not the same clothes feel good for every person. So I don't have a blanket, this is what everybody does for their nervous system. I really encourage people to try on different ones in different situations and figure out their own personal toolbox of resources because not all nervous system regulation tools are going to have the same impact on each person's body at each time that they need it.
Mm.
Yeah.
What is an example of one of these tools?
Yeah, well, I guess the most basic that a lot of people would talk about is breathing. And when people have already done breathing, or I know I've tried breathing, it doesn't work. There's a whole bunch of others. But, when we talk about breathing, even within breathing, there's lots of different ways to help. So there's your 4-7-8 breathing, which is breathing in for 4 breaths, holding for 7 breaths, and breathing out, exhaling for 8 breaths, 4-7-8. Or you can adapt that to a smaller number so that it doesn't feel like such long holds or exhales. But it's that patterning of exhaling for longer. Then there's your box breathing, which is just breathing in for 4, holding for 4, breathing out for 4, holding for 4. So those are, your basics. So you can do that. Deep breathing is sort of the quickest way to move your nervous system from a sympathetic overdrive state to a parasympathetic state. So I definitely teach breathing. And most people, by the time they come to me, have heard about it. They've been told they should take deep breaths, but they might be doing this, which we know is not very helpful. So coming back to the diaphragm, learning how to do diaphragmatic breathing. And then, there's things like body scans and progressive muscle relaxation. There's grounding techniques. There's visualizations and affirmations and things like that that help with the nervous system as well. I think one of the most important things is the being aware, not just feeling like you're going along with the flow and it happening to you, like being really aware and getting control back, feeling like you have the power and the tools and resources to use in the moment, but also for you to know when to use them when your body's getting into that state rather than waiting it to getting it to a red moment where it's harder to then bring it back.
Wow, that's so key. Like I'm really glad that you're out there doing this work. With nervous system regulation, so you've mentioned some
Mhm.
of the tools that you use. Would you ever step into other areas? Like, do you look at nutrition, lifestyle, environment, anything like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I run a program that goes for 10 weeks called The Shift. And the shift doesn't necessarily go through all of those key areas. We're really getting that mind-body connection happening, getting the mindset right, looking at the nervous system regulation and looking at subconscious reprogramming as well, amongst other things. And then after the shift, I offer people to come into a program called Inner Balance. And when they first start Inner Balance, and each month that they are in Inner Balance, They look at inner balance wheel, their own inner balance wheel. And on this wheel, we have all these different spokes of things to look into. So, and that includes four pillars. One pillar is physical, like what you've mentioned, looking at their nutrition and their hydration and things like that. Obviously, their movement and their somatic senses and things. And then we look at connection. So connection with self, connection with others, that's setting boundaries, how that impacts their symptoms and their days, and how it affects their nervous system as well. And we look at the mind because our thoughts are important. So, where our attention is often is where our energy goes, and that can have a rebound effect of how it affects us. So there's so much with the mind, looking at both conscious and subconscious patternings. And then the last one we look at is that expansion pillar. So the expansion isn't for everybody, but the expansion ones that are things like joy, bringing it joy back into your life and getting back into that energy rather than this constant fight of trying to get away from symptoms. When you stop that and bring in joy and things that you want to do, that energy shift can be enough to settle down some symptoms as well. But it really is a holistic view. Yeah.
I would even say that the joy component is possibly one of the most important because really without joy, why do we want to be here? Like joy is
Exactly.
so important and it's something that I also really recommend that women sit with and think
Yeah.
about. And it sometimes is going back to your childhood, what used to bring you joy that you've stopped doing over
Yeah.
time, and how can you add that back into your life? Because we want to, we're here, we want to have a good time, we want to have
Yeah.
joy and experiences. So I'm so glad that you've added that element into your program.
And when I first talk about joy with people, and they sometimes really struggle to come up with what brings them joy now, because usually they've gone through a change of life, whether it be retirement or change of work, or they've just had lots of kids come into, they're in that phase of being so busy and they've forgotten what brings them joy. It's really common.
I think it's also the introspection. It's the coming back to you. You're so busy
Yeah.
looking after everybody else. It's like I'm making sure they're all getting their joy. It's like, but what
Yeah.
about you? I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So how do women find out about the shift? Because it seems like the shift is the
Yeah.
starting point before you then move into the second part.
Yeah, yeah. So I open the shift doors a few times a year, two or three times a year. So our next one is in February of 2026. I'm in the middle of a program now, and it's really special because it's a concise group of people, and it's such a community sense, and it's after them feeling so lonely for so long in that chronic dizziness circuit and often leaning on community groups that are a bit more pity party rather than what we're talking about with joy and bringing back in real answers. But they can find me at dizzyresolve.com and Instagram's Dizzy Resolve, Facebook, but I can give you those details as well. Or you can always email me at hello@dizzyresolve.com. I read all my emails too.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I'm glad that we unpacked some of the parts of your program because I can see that it's all important,
Yeah.
that you do need to take a holistic view to have a look at what really is going on for you because you can get better and life is waiting for you. Let's bring some joy into it and
Yeah.
some health. Um,
Excellent.
is there anything you'd like to leave with?
Well, I guess with your clients with perimenopause, menopause age, if you have migraines and you have dizziness, then just to know that your dizziness may be vestibular migraine, and it may not be, you don't even have to have your headache at the same time as dizziness for it to be vestibular migraine. So it's just raising awareness that vestibular migraine is extremely common in that menopause age group, especially if you've had migraines in the past. But vestibular migraines may look very, very different. So to seek out a vestibular physiotherapist as another option as well.
How common are vestibular physiotherapists?
Oh, it depends where in the world. So, in Australia, we are quite lucky that we have had some fabulous people who have trained a lot of physiotherapists over the past decade. So, there's becoming more of us. Um, you have to be careful when people call themselves, vestibular physiotherapists. They might have just done a weekend course and don't have much experience. So there's vestibular physiotherapists and vestibular physiotherapists. So looking at their experience level as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. Thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jen. See
You're
you
welcome.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.